Okay, go ahead. What's your question? So I'm watching Dallas. And
If you watching Dallas, then you can get distracted real easy. But if you're watching your game, right?
You don't have to pay attention to that game. Don't worry about it.
If you're watching your game and the game is a good game, fourth quarter,
Okay.
game is tied.
Game on the line.
Game on the line, like 30 seconds left.
Oh.
And then your wife come in, dressed all sexy, want you to cut the game off because she knows she want the business. You know,
You said fourth
what you
quarter?
gonna do? Like, how you gonna handle that?
Double edge.
Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody out there on the internet, welcome to another episode of the Double Edge Show.
We back.
Trust me, man. This is one of the sharpest shows out there on the internet. You know what I mean? It's cutting. These topics are hitting. You know, we're getting good feedback. You know, we try to talk about controversial topics. You know, we try to get people involved. So, you know, we like the support. We like the feedback that we've been getting so far. So, continue
Keep
to
'em
support
coming,
us,
keep it
guys.
coming.
Keep it up.
Keep it coming, guys. But, you know, we're here. We're back for another show. Welcome back, fellas. Welcome back. Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
Good to be back, huh?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
sir. Good to be with your brothers up here, man. You know what? You know what else is back, fellas? NFL is back.
Sir,
Football is back.
Yay.
It's gonna be our season.
I got a question for y'all. Especially with the season coming back up. Do y'all actually have time to actually sit down and watch and enjoy a full game? Because my kids always running around. My wife, like,
That's hard, bro.
I try. The wife tries to help out and like kind of keep the kids out of the way so I can at least enjoy my team playing. Like if my team's on the screen, don't bother daddy. Go to mommy.
Okay.
But yeah, it's hard to watch, to be able to watch a full game, and you know you still got to take care of the family. But I don't know. Football season's back, so
Yeah, you got to make the time. You gotta,
I mean,
I mean, it's like 3 hours though. Like a game is like 3 hours.
Exactly.
So
You
that's
know,
a long
I mean,
time.
I just finished
and I watch
building the
multiple
bar
games.
out in my backyard, so that's gonna be my little area where I could, watch the game and be by
Okay.
myself a little bit. But
Okay.
distractions.
We'll
always
bring the
happen.
wings.
Hey,
Hey.
listen, beer and wings. That's all we need.
Maybe we can get
You
Stephon to
bring the
start
wings,
watching.
I'll provide the beer.
I watch it. I just don't follow the players. It's too much work.
It's too much work to follow the players.
Because you have
I
because
agree.
you have to. So you pick a team that you're going for, and you watch them when they play. But then you have to know about other games that might knock them out of the Super Bowl. And I just don't have time.
No, I mean, you just watch the team you like, man. Just
know-
watch it
to
for the
know-
love of the game.
Well, right, but then to have like y'all, Tua, I don't know who that is. What?
You just like the jerseys.
Ramsey?
You just like the
What?
colors.
Like I like the game.
You like the game. Okay.
I don't follow players and stats. It's too much.
We're going to work on Stephon.
man.
We're going to get him there.
I appreciate that.
What we talking about today, fellas?
Yeah, what's the topic?
Okay. So what happens, right? When you're watching your team, the Dolphins or whoever you support, you watching the game. It's a
I'm gonna
good
just say
game.
Dallas. It's a
That-
good game.
oh,
Yes, let's
you
go.
shouldn't.
Yeah, that's
Oh yeah,
man.
Dallas.
Oh,
all
we
day.
shouldn't. Oh,
So,
okay.
go ahead. What's your question? So I'm watching Dallas. And what
If you're
happened?
watching Dallas, then you can get distracted real easy. But if you're watching your game, right?
You don't have to pay attention to that game. Don't worry about it.
If you're watching your game and the game is a good game, fourth quarter,
Okay.
game is tied.
Game on the line.
Game on the line, like 30 seconds left.
Oh.
And then your wife come in, dressed all sexy, want you to cut the game off because she knows she want the business. You know,
You said fourth
what you
quarter?
gonna do? Like, how you gonna handle that? Because you know how a woman feel when they get rejected or
Fourth
you know,
quarter life. I mean,
Fourth quarter.
game on the line.
game on the line.
I'm gonna have to multitask. Be honest with you said game on the line. If this was like second quarter, third quarter,
That's not gonna work. You're not giving her your complete attention.
huh?
You know, if you're not giving her your complete attention, you know how that's gonna make.
But I
women
mean,
feel.
she also knows that she's distracting me from the game. So I'm gonna have to. Me personally, I'm gonna try to do both.
Wow.
Good
You
answer.
said game
Good
on
answer.
the line.
Good answer. Good answer. Good
I'm
answer.
being honest, right? There's supposed to
so
be no
glad-
judgment, right?
I don't have these problems. Lord.
Oh man.
What would y'all do? Y'all didn't answer the question.
What would you do?
I mean, no,
I
you-
wouldn't be so enwrapped in the game.
Or not something you like, something like Star Trek. You're watching Star Trek. Final episode of Star Trek.
I've seen all of them. It's a bad example.
Yeah.
Listen, whatever I watch is streamed, so I can pause. I can go back. Like this, watching TV isn't usually a problem.
What if it's like a new movie that you're really excited about, and you're
Then
watching it at home, and it's just you and the wife enjoying the movie, and now she decides
she's gonna have to know better.
I mean, but no, I actually like
Because
your
it's
first
one or
answer
the
about,
other.
about multitasking. You said
no.
using the football analogy, like fourth quarter, only 30 seconds left.
Only 30 seconds left,
I
man.
mean,
how many timeouts?
That 30
No
seconds
timeouts,
will turn
bro.
into 5
No
minutes.
timeouts.
I mean, so wife come in, she wants to be intimate. 30 seconds left in the game. Those 30 seconds can be the foreplay.
That's true.
Hey.
I didn't even think about that.
That is,
We have said
that's an
foreplay
excellent
first.
point.
Okay.
So while I'm watching that 30 seconds,
But she might want your full attention. She might want your undivided attention. You know?
I mean, you're gonna have to work. You know, it's got a give and take. You know,
A give and take. Okay.
you know, it's like you wanted to start this knowing I was already busy, so I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to give up some. You got to meet me halfway. It makes perfect sense.
so
I like it.
let's switch it around. Let's say your wife or she's watching one of her favorite shows or whatever.
Right.
And we come in now. We feel a little, it's been a while. I'm a little backed up. You want to get intimate with her. How will we feel if she like, oh, wait till this go off?
Oh no, I'm turning off the TV.
Yeah.
It's not even a question. Click. Come on.
So, no, but okay, real talk though. Do you find that it's easier for your wives, our wives, to be like, nah, she's not ready right now, as opposed to we just gotta have to work with it, as opposed to when we want it,
100%.
you know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
so to me, it's just like, what is the, how do we handle, or what is the how do we maneuver our sex lives within a marriage? How is it a balance? Is it 50-50, or as men we just live to cater to our wives?
As in, like, what I'm understanding is you're saying, is it that men are catering more to the woman's sex drive rather than vice versa?
Right.
And how do we address that?
How do we? Is it okay? Is it okay?
I think that's 100% what it is, because
Yeah, I don't think it's
now,
okay.
this generation, I feel women within the marriage or outside of a marriage, women will always control when to be intimate with a man outside of, the
they will always control that.
correct.
Okay.
Back in the day, it was men who controlled it because men were just, that
Take
type
it.
of and Neanderthal type of male, right?
Caveman.
But this day and age, I feel like women hold that control, like when they want to be intimate, whether they have a high sex drive or not. So within a marriage, I feel unfortunate for us men. We do have to cater to when she's in the mood compared to whenever we're in the mood.
But
Because
should
if we,
it be
if,
that way?
I agree, it shouldn't be, because a lot of times if we're in the mood and she's not, we have to understand that.
Right. We gotta. Yeah.
But
We
vice
gotta-
versa, if they're in the mood and we're not,
It's a problem.
It's a problem.
It's a problem.
Well, it's a problem if we turn, like you said, if you turn them down, even if we're not in the mood, is they expect us to get in the mood
Right.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
rather than wait, let me finish this first, and then we can. They're gonna feel like rejected, or I'm not good
Right.
enough, or I'm not attractive enough.
Right.
You're
You
not
know,
interested
the
in me.
argument that I've heard them make is, when is a guy not ever in the mood?
Right.
So that's the argument.
All
that they
the
make.
time.
Right. Like he just. Are we ready?
Right.
Yeah.
That I think that's just a misconception across the board, because when you're young and everyone's attractive and you're always ready to go,
Yeah, when you're
it
teenager, going through
kind of
hormones.
like that's what set the bar. So now suddenly you get older and life happens and you're not ready to jump on it the second it's offered. it's a problem.
It's a problem.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So how do we combat that, or how do we convey that message to our significant other that give me some time?
Lord, if you find the answer, let me know. Anybody, comment the answer, please.
Yeah, I would say like because for go back to the football analogy, like end of the game is like fourth quarter or whatever, game's on the line. I'm like into this, and she wants to get intimate or want to now because it's okay. You got to pick and choose. How bad do you really want me, kind of thing. But if I make the decision that I want you, but I also want this, I want both, and like one can wait a few seconds and then we can. But the response I'm going to get is not going to be a receptive response.
Because you're
No.
choosing something else over her.
Exactly. But like you said, if the roles were reversed, if she's watching the show and not able, like it's not on Netflix, it's not streaming, so you can't pause it or whatever. It's like one of those. It comes out. Let's say what's the dragon show that we all liked on Game of Thrones. Like when that show came out, everybody was like when the new episode was out, we're watching it. Like we're not stopping. We don't want to miss nothing. So imagine like one of those type of shows that she's watching, and I'm in the mood. I get home, I've been in the mood. I can't wait to see my wife. I come with flowers and all this, and I'm watching my show afterwards. Like how that doesn't feel good to me.
Right.
But is she receptive to even show that she cares that how I feel? It's like, no, you can wait. But if the roles reverse,
Right.
why can't you wait also?
Right.
That's the issue. And I believe that it's not just social media, because you said like the younger generation is kind of like that now. I feel like it's even from our generation and even maybe before us, is the media and TV shows you would always see that in the TV show. That the man was always catering to the woman, and it was only the woman. Whenever the woman was in the mood, the man dropped whatever he was doing
Right.
to go be with his woman.
Right.
But
Right.
the women, you never see a woman do that in a TV show, a movie, or anything like that.
But hey, you know
And
what
it's
I
a
noticed
condition.
why that was all depicted like that? Because it gave the idea or the impression that that man is not getting it that often. So when
Yeah.
he had the chance,
Exactly.
he dropped everything that he was doing
Yeah.
to go for it.
Right.
And that brings me to another question, because it's a perception or a rumor that when guys are younger or before marriage, we can have all the sex in the world or whatever, but like as soon as we get married, the amount of sex with your wife declines or her sex drive decreases, and there's not that much sex once you're married.
Yeah.
Do y'all believe that to be true? Like, do you feel like you obviously you're supposed to wait till marriage?
Right.
Like, as
Yeah,
men
right.
of faith, that was a goal. Unfortunately, I did not, so I did slip up in my past. But
Shame on you.
shame on me, sorry.
Shame.
But as a married man now, I don't know if I would say, do I have more sex now with my wife before than we did before we got married? Yes and no. And I feel like it depends on when she's in the mood, really.
Right. But when you ask that question, I wonder though, does or can sex get better in your marriage?
Yes.
Or you feel it's like, do you feel it's like on a steady decline, or do you feel like it can get better?
I feel like it can get better because I feel
Definitely
like
always
it's
get
up to both of you guys to keep
Working on
that
it.
passion,
Yes.
and to keep the that level of
Right.
intimacy going. Now, can it become dull if you guys are just doing the mundane routine? Then I believe that does happen, but I don't know.
We
what
got
y'all
to
think.
spice it up.
I feel like the spicing up part comes with communication.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like as
Yes.
men,
My brother.
we don't have a problem communicating what we enjoy in the bedroom. Like, this is what I like. This is what I would like you to do. But I feel like with the women, it's more of, I want you to guess what I like and
Figure it out.
figure it out. And it's like, no, just tell me what you want, and that's what you're gonna get. Like, it don't have to be this. Like, I get the like you want your man to get to know you kind of thing, but we can't read minds. And I feel like that's even to this day, women are still let me not say women. My wife is still like, and has that perceptive that I can understand her thoughts just by looking at her, just by whatever gesture she makes.
I'll say women are like that.
Yeah, most women are. Most women. I don't know about all, but most women are like that.
So, but we've had that conversation where it's like, that you can't expect me to know what you like or know what you want to do. Like, just tell me, and I will do whatever I can to please you, and vice versa. I'm tell you, and you do what you can to please me.
Right.
That's how I think it should be. But unfortunately, like we said, it's not that way.
Right.
Question: do you guys feel like sexual compatibility plays into that?
Yes.
Well, hold on.
Short answer.
Hold on.
What is sexual-
Explain that. Yes, explain that. What is that?
So I've heard people say that they're not sexually compatible with other people
Meaning what?
because the type of sex that one person like compared to the type of sex somebody else is like.
Mhm.
So I'll use myself for an example. I like more passionate, explicit side of when I'm with my wife. I want to be able to do whatever. We going in, you know.
Right. You want to be free. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But she is a more romantic
Mhm.
type. She likes the more soft, wants to feel loved and cared for.
Mhm.
Uh,
I don't think that makes you sexually incompatible.
Correct, and I agree. But I've heard people make that statement
So,
before.
I can see how different styles and different approaches might make intimate time complicated or maybe a little less comfortable. But again, that it's all about communication, because
Right.
you can find a middle ground. There are workarounds.
That's where I feel like you're supposed to cater to each other's needs.
Right.
And that's where
Right.
the communication that
I mean,
you talked
that's
about comes
that's
from.
biblical, because
Yes.
my wife has mentioned many times, my body is not my own. Like, so neither of us has
Wait, she said that
the
your
right-
body is not your own.
My
or her
body
is not.
It's her body.
my body is hers and her body is mine.
Okay.
Like you
Yes.
can't we're not supposed to deny each other
Mhm.
ever. So like if she wants it, I'm supposed to be there. If I want it, she's supposed to be there.
Right.
Unless you're fasting or there's some kind of medical issue. But that's
Right.
I don't know what verse it is, so I can't quote it, but that's in the Bible. Like your body is not yours.
So talking about biblically within a marriage, when it comes to the topic of sex, romance, being intimate with your wife, is there such thing as a holy way to show that connection, that intimacy, or is sex just sex? Like
I mean,
yeah, what is-
a holy way?
What
there
is a holy way?
'Cause that's my question. Like, because some people in the church will feel like certain type of sex or
Right.
positions of sex shouldn't be done
Right.
because that's considered as quote
Unholy.
unquote. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Yeah, I
Right.
understand, but I mean,
we're gonna throw that right out.
everybody always uses the scripture that the marriage bed is undefiled.
It's undefiled, right?
Correct.
Whatever
Yeah,
you
exactly.
agree on with each other, it's
Right.
okay in the Lord's eyes.
Yeah. So you
But
can do whatever.
to go back to
So you're saying you can do whatever you want in the bedroom?
that, you say that I should be able to.
Yeah, you
As
and
a-
your wife should
as
be
a
able to do
couple.
whatever
Yeah,
you want in the
absolutely,
bedroom.
whatever we want. Yes,
But
but
husband and wife.
I would to go
So-
back to the compatibility thing real quick,
Okay.
because I said yes that the compatibility thing does matter, and it matters because of those like ourselves who you had sex outside of the marriage 1st and or let's say sex with multiple partners before you met your wife and got married. So now because of that the compatibility thing now is going to play a role in your marriage because you're comparing
You're comparing.
to who you were with before, and same with her. So now that comparison is that's not what I like, that's not what I'm used to. But you guys have each found something that you enjoy, and now you're coming together. Now it's making it harder. If we do it the biblical way, the way God said that you lay with one woman, that is
Right.
your wife, and that is it. There wouldn't be anything
There's
else
no
to
comparison at that
comparing
point,
the two. You guys would be learning together what each other likes, and there wouldn't be that, oh, well, I used to do this with somebody else, and this is what I enjoy, this is what I want you to do kind of thing. Because even though you may not say that, that's what we're thinking,
Right.
and that plays a role.
It's
But
much better that way.
Yeah. What was the second question?
Do and never do whatever
Oh, yeah,
you
doing
want
whatever
within
you
the bed, within the confines of your marriage. There's no limit.
Yeah,
There's no limits.
Personally,
I don't see
yes.
what there
There's
would
no
be.
limit. Is if I agree, if I'm okay with it, then yes, and if she's okay with it, then yes. But there's been times like if I want to do something and she's not comfortable, then we just don't do it.
So
Now
long
it's
as they
on my
both-
mind.
they
I'm
both agree.
gonna throw it out there
So-
again and see if I in the future. But right now, no. Okay, I'll wait.
I mean, are you asking if what is something too far? Is like how far? What kind of limits you have in the bedroom? Like,
Really, should there be limitations within in the bedroom? Like, for there's couples that introduce like toys and stuff in the bed, like that. That ain't for me.
right,
But I know there's couples who do that. Like,
Right.
but if they're okay, that's their marriage. Should anybody judge them for doing that? Because no, but some church folk will say that that's
right.
ungodly or that's
That's the thing. When
unholy.
you said people shouldn't judge them. People shouldn't even know
That's-
what's
I mean,
happening
that's
in
true.
their bedroom. And if people do know, that's
So,
their fault for
I'm
telling
gonna
people.
give you another example. What about people who enjoy filming themselves and?
But it's still between the two
It's
people.
still
though.
between them. Is make sure that film don't get out.
Well, on the
That's
flip, on
they
the flip
decide to
side
make a
of
little
that,
money
though,
off of that film.
Listen,
No,
times are hard.
on the flip side of that, though, you hear about people introducing pornography into their marriage for
yeah.
excitement. I mean, what do we think about that? Is that too far? Is that out of bounds? Or
I never understood the problem with that. I mean, we probably wouldn't do it because that's not her thing. But I've never understood the problem, and it's been explained like when you're watching it, you're kind of visualizing yourself with that person. It's like inviting other people into your marriage,
Right.
or into the marriage bed, and I'm like, no.
you don't think so? You don't see
No,
that?
because I'm not thinking of that person. I'm not thinking of what they're doing or
But then
imagining them
the
doing
question
it to me
is,
or
then why
anything.
watch it if you're not thinking that,
Right.
you're not picturing yourself experiencing that with them, with her, or whatever. Then why even watch it? That's the question.
Because there's still entertainment value and arousal in the watching. But if I were watching it with her, then actually I don't know why we would do that, because I wouldn't be watching the TV.
I don't know. To me, that is definitely a double-edged situation, because it could be good and it could be bad for the marriage. For the good side is, like you mentioned, like it's supposed to help with arousal. Like, for example, like, round one is done, and now as a male, sometimes you need a minute or two
need a
before
minute.
you're ready for round for the next round.
5 minutes.
But
in a Red Bull.
when the arousal of seeing the pornography gets either you or her in the mood, or even like if she wasn't in the mood and you are in the mood, and they try to use that, like that kind of helps get them in the mood. So that's the good side. But now the other side of that sword is what are you now comparing each other to from what you see on the screen is one, and then also you're opening yourselves up to a spiritual battle that you don't want to deal with also,
Right.
that you don't even realize
Right.
because you're all
I
focused
like the
on
one thing because a lot of people don't realize, well, they should realize that porn is unrealistic. And
Yes.
like when you are comparing, you're comparing to yourself that you can never really measure up to. Because like,
Right.
let's be realistic. When porn, they go on 2, 3, 4 rounds. The dude is probably on a pill or something. Why is he
Yeah.
able to go like that? The female,
It's not like
is
it's
cut.
filmed straight.
Correct.
Right.
Like so,
Right.
but you're watching it, comparing, thinking that, oh, this is what I want. Like that's not reality. That's not what's going to happen in the bedroom with you and your wife. Because
I mean, but why
Some of it-
compare?
That's just what you're naturally gonna do.
But naturally, if you're watching something, the image of it is
Yeah, you
the
get-
reason why you're getting aroused from it, because it's what excites you. That's what you want.
something on
You're
it is
imagining
stimulating.
that happening.
Right.
Right, but that's not going to lead me to compare myself or compare her.
Hopefully not.
I don't under.
Well, I
no,
mean-
not how I'm telling. I don't understand why it would. That doesn't. Comparison is probably the worst thing when it comes to living your life in general, because true comparison never really happens. You know, it's like you want to compare apples to apples. And all the time people are comparing apples to oranges. Because all you're seeing is whatever you're seeing. You don't know everything about that situation. You don't know everything
Correct.
about that person. So
Right.
just, I mean, forget porn, just life in general. Comparing never works because it's never done properly.
You're
So
absolutely
Why
right.
do it?
However, that is one of the most major issues that human beings have is always comparing ourselves to something or someone else.
Right.
So let's
All right.
take it a step further. Let's say a marriage couple, because the example that you use, them watching a porn, it can be viewed as inviting that person into their marital bed.
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
What if they're actually doing it now? They're opening their marriage and they are inviting people, because we know
actual
there's people that
Swingers.
swingers,
Like
for
swingers.
instance, that they are married. So they're allowed to do whatever they want within the confines of their marriage. Is it wrong for them to invite other people within their marriage?
When we say wrong,
But
in whose eyes are we talking about?
It's
So I guess
we
the
are
question,
we are men of faith, but we're talking generally.
the question is,
Like,
biblical?
is it wrong?
yeah, I mean, because the third party is not, they're not married. That person's outside
That
of their
third party is
marriage.
outside the
Right.
marriage.
Right. So if they invite them, automatically, I think they're going outside of the bounds of what is allowable, biblically. So I think they totally out of bounds when they do that.
Right.
I mean, I know
So
it's popular.
But how
and-
so when you
What
say
if they
biblically?
were married?
Because the marriage is between that man and that woman, not somebody else. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
But then
sex
we also said that the marriage bed is not defiled, which
between
means
the
if-
man and the woman.
right between the man and the woman. But if
Right.
between the man and the woman, they are agreeing to invite something in to be part of their
They're
marriage.
inviting.
They're inviting it, and then when the reason I ask is you also say biblically, there's multiple concubines in the scriptures also with these men of faith who
Yeah.
had wives, and the wives are aware and was okay with their concubines, especially the wives who I forget.
Or if
which,
it's not just concubines, they have multiple wives. Well, they invite somebody else to become into their marriage, and now it's like we spoke about polygamy before, right?
Right.
Like, so if a couple is inviting another person or another couple into their marriage, and they are one bigger marriage, I don't know how
Right.
to explain that. Like,
Well, I was going along the lines of I think it was Sarah who brought a concubine because she wasn't able to have a
She
child.
couldn't get pregnant.
Right.
So she brought
it
that
wasn't her
woman in.
concubine; it was her help.
Like a
Her-
slave.
Her handmaid.
slave,
Her
yeah.
handmaid.
Her all right, handmaid.
Lady
But
servant,
yes.
something.
But she brought someone else into the marriage because
Correct.
it was to benefit the marriage. It was to
Right.
benefit, even
But
though
with
that
that, they
God
were-
promised her
yeah.
and she didn't listen. But that was the point. So the sin wasn't that you brought this person into the marriage. The sin was that you disobeyed God or you didn't have faith
Correct.
in what the Lord told you.
Correct.
That's what I was saying. when
But
it
in a
comes
way,
to biblically.
isn't that God also saying not to bring anybody into your marriage at the same time? Not directly, but that's also Him saying you
But then
introducing this
we could
person.
go back to
That could
King
be an
David, who
interpretation.
had multiple
Right.
wives,
Mm.
and God allowed him to keep Bathsheba as a wife after he did what he did.
God
The
allowed
punish-
it.
Yeah, he allowed the marriage. That Solomon is the fruit of that.
But that doesn't mean God was in agreement.
Right?
with
No,
it, though.
he wasn't. God was not in agreement on what David did, murdering someone and taking somebody's wife.
But
And so the punishment was that the son
right?
of that sin was not going to survive.
Absalom, I think. His name
But then
was.
afterwards, they got married. They had another son, and that son was blessed by God.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like I feel like we can't really say that it's against the Lord's will. I feel like what God says not to do or what God says to do is what we're supposed to do. We can't interpret, or I feel like we can't interpret and say, oh, he wouldn't like this and he wouldn't like that if he didn't specifically say that, because his word is very clear. That's just my opinion.
But when He says word is very clear, it's clear about one woman and one man, though.
It's clear about marriage
Right.
to your wife.
Right.
Yes.
Which is one woman and one man.
But so what verse says you're only supposed to marry one woman?
Right.
And I've heard that argument before. It said there's no verse that says, or the Bible was interpreted from all the different translations, but the original text doesn't say one man and one woman. It says a man and a woman. That's
Right.
what the original text says. But it was
Mhm.
translations years later, they turned it, or the church turned it to where it says one
One.
man and one woman to fulfill their ideal of a monogamy relationship. compared to a poly whatever.
So you don't believe in the coming of the two making one flesh?
I do.
I
do believe in
that
that.
spiritual bond between
Yeah.
that man and that woman.
I believe that's where procreation and when God talked about be fruit and multiply, because the only way to do that is for two to become one flesh.
No.
The
Not
only way-
see what you're
necessarily,
saying.
not spiritually though. You could mate with thousands of people and procreate, but not necessarily
but
become.
within God's
high
design,
bound
you're only supposed to procreate with in the confines of your marriage.
Yes.
So I mean, that's just my opinion.
I don't,
I mean, I
the
don't
two
know.
become one thing. Yes, I believe in that because that's what a marriage is. Like two people becoming one, and I see it as becoming one unit. Think of it that way. Like you're going away from your mother and father, and you're taking this woman from her father, and you're saying, "I'm now responsible for her. I am marrying her. We are starting our own family now."
Yes.
The two are becoming now one, and even like physically, you said in order to make babies, the two literally have to become one. So you guys are coming together. So spiritually and physically, that's what that means. But now when the scripture, or I guess like I said, the scripture doesn't necessarily say, and it's not like, oh, I'm misinterpreting something. Like there is no scripture that says one man, one woman. It just says the man is supposed to be with his wife, and the wife is supposed to be with her husband, and nobody outside of that. But it doesn't say the
But it
husband
doesn't
can't
say
have
plural
another.
though.
Yeah,
Say
it doesn't-
husbands and wives. It says husband and wife.
Right.
Right.
Because that's again, the original marriage thing comes from Adam and Eve. There was only one man and one woman at the time,
Right.
and that's all the other scriptures written after that is all reflecting back to Adam and Eve.
Okay.
So, and that's like I said, I believe is up for interpretation because there's no clear anything stating that this man cannot have multiple wives, and then there was no punishment for any man having multiple wives. So that's my argument.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
But going back to the original question, within that marriage and the sexuality between the two, because we said inviting somebody else into that marriage, we're saying that based on biblical scripture, is that outside what God allows?
It would seem to me that
I don't.
another person wouldn't be that much different than a toy, as like or anything else that you decide to do.
Well,
Because again,
I disagree with that because
Well, I'm just
I would
saying-
allow my wife to bring a toy into the bedroom before I let her bring any other person to the bedroom.
I mean, obviously, but I'm just saying the same way a toy would be brought in after you guys have discussed it and agreed upon it and are okay with it, would be the same way another person would come into it. That's all I'm saying.
Teachers, own, I guess.
Obviously, a person versus a toy completely different, but the way that they come into the marriage would have to be the same.
I mean, discussing it and agreeing upon it.
Exactly.
Right.
But you also spoke about comparison. So I think if you bring somebody else in, it's automatically you're going to be comparing what's happening with the other person. You know what I mean? And we agree.
I have my own things that I'm focusing on.
so
You do
So-
you do you. I'm busy over here. I don't have time to compare.
listen.
To get back to what Brandon was saying, so is it okay with God of bringing that third party in? So let's put it this way: husband and wife, and they bring in a female, right, to be whatever intimate with this female. I feel like personally, God would not be okay with it, and the reason why is because, again, biblically, once a man lays with a woman, he is now spiritually tied to her, and that in the Lord's eyes, that is the marriage.
You're talking about soul ties.
Soul ties, exactly. So now for you to say, oh, we're just gonna bring this girl into our marriage and we're gonna, do our thing and then let her go. Like, no, you just brought her in. You laid with that woman. You now biblically know that woman. As a man, you are now responsible for that woman. That is supposed to be your next wife. And so that now we're playing with it. Now you're definitely trying to say, oh, or not saying, what was the word? Like misinterpreting what the scripture says and saying, oh no, we can just do this. No, like I said, the men in the Bible before, they had multiple wives and concubines, and they were responsible for all of those women.
So
It wasn't just here for the night and you go. No, you stayed in the house. You stayed in this castle. I'm the man of the house. I'm taking care of you. That's how it's supposed to be.
You said
God
something
would not be okay
interesting
with it.
there, Drew.
Go ahead.
You're saying once you have sex with somebody as a man, you're responsible for that person.
Yes.
That person is now your wife.
In the Lord's eyes, yes.
In the Lord's eyes.
Yes.
This needs to be taught. This needs to be taught, like from young. Like, I mean,
It
I'm
does.
lucky. I'm lucky. I've only known my wife.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's not the case for everybody.
For everybody.
And
Right.
I feel like there should maybe be a little bit more of an emphasis in the teaching of soul ties, because I like
should be.
before coming to church and meeting certain people, I had never heard anything like that.
Right.
I feel like the church, or most churches that I've gone to, and most preachers I've heard, whenever they do talk about it, it's always like surface.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're not supposed to sleep with somebody else, or you're not supposed to. What's the word? What's the sex before?
Fornicate.
Fornicate. Like I always heard that word fornicate growing up, and they never explained in detail what it meant. They just said, "Oh, you're not supposed to have sex before marriage. That's what fornication is." That's not even what it means. But they will always stay on the surface and won't really dive deep. I've never heard soul ties until I started reading the scripture for myself and understanding.
That is true. I don't think I've ever heard any pastor or preacher preach on soul ties. I've only heard it spoken about within like small groups or like Bible study, something like that. But I've never heard a sermon talk about soul ties before. So think about it.
It's pretty deep.
You
But why do you say you're responsible for that person though?
Because when a man and a woman come together and they're joining, once you know each other,
Intercourse.
pretty much intercourse. Once you know each other, you are responsible for it, because that is the biblical marriage. You are marrying this person, regardless if you telling the world or whatever. You sleeping with this woman, you're marrying it. You are now married. That's why the soul tie is there.
So
And even scientifically, like I forget, it was a video I saw, but there was a scientist who studied it. It's like once a woman sleeps with a man, his DNA stays with her for the rest of her life.
You mean if he ejaculates inside of her or something?
Once
I would imagine so.
his DNA will stay with her for the rest of her life.
Okay.
It is now a part of her something. So yeah, even though she has a husband now and is and has babies, yes, the kid is only going to belong to that husband and the wife. But the genes itself that came from this other guy that she slept with before is going to stay with her.
Okay.
Now I've heard that about the woman. I don't know about the man. I feel like it would be the same. It shouldn't be different. So any woman that you slept with, physically, it's her whatever is still going to be a part of you also. But I know the soul tie, you're always going to be tied to that person until you break that soul tie.
So you're saying there's a spiritual and also a physical bond
Yes.
when you have like for life.
For life.
So God forbid, say you cheat on your, and so you step out on your wife.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me that you're gonna be responsible for that woman?
I'm telling you, I should be.
Should
responsible.
be.
I'm saying I should be.
Okay.
I don't expect like
That's
'cause-
not how society works.
Yeah, exactly. Because people step out all the time, and that's just the way the world is. Even though it's wrong, but I don't agree with it.
Right.
It's the way that the Lord sees it. Is you should be
you
responsible.
should be responsible.
So just like David took over Bathsheba, he is now responsible. He couldn't just kick her to the side because you got me in trouble with the Lord.
Right.
No, you now responsible. For
No,
this.
but I'm thinking like in modern times though. If you was to live that out, what would you do? Like
If I was to live it, if I was to cheat,
anybody. No, say even your wife cheating on you. What would you tell her? Oh, she.
Would you
Oh,
invite
no,
that man
he
into
got
the
to pay
house
your
now?
bills. No, like
Oh,
no. What would you tell her?
No,
he
no,
got to
she-
pay your bills.
she-
or
he
he got to
he-
take care.
he gonna
She
pay
can
the
go with
bills.
him.
But no, I mean,
Yeah, no, what you said makes sense because if the opposite happened, he's supposed to be responsible
exactly, he
for
will
her.
be
now.
responsible for her.
Or
Well,
both
in
of
what-
you guys
Bye.
are responsible for her.
And so now, and that's where it comes in again. It's what I can't.
Is it whoever hit it last? Like, how
Nah.
does that work?
Listen,
Whoever. So this is where
Not
the
sure.
this is where divorce is allowed or
yes.
approved
Right.
in the scripture.
Mm.
Is if somebody steps outside of the marriage kind of thing.
Correct.
But usually
that's
it's
exactly what would happen.
when the
No, I'm
divorce
not
thing was
responsible
brought
for
up,
you.
I think it was mostly directed towards like for women, for a man to be able to divorce his wife, because the man is the one who's in charge of taking care of his wife.
Yeah.
So in order for the man to divorce the wife, she had to have done something, stepped outside of the marriage. Now the man stepping outside of the marriage, it's supposed to be like you were asking. He is now supposed to be responsible for her. You're bringing this other woman in. You are now responsible for both of these women.
Right.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
But like
So that's
it's,
how
it's
you
not.
think that's how polygamy started.
I feel like honestly, I feel like
That
monogamy
makes sense.
It does.
from the histories that I've read, and we're not just talking about scripture now. This outside of scripture, history in general, monogamy did not come into play until like the New World.
Yeah,
became
that's
a thing.
a Western.
Like Africa, Asia, everywhere. It
No,
was.
but hold up. How you gonna say that? All right. Finish what you got to say.
Well, I'm saying from in history in general, all these men had multiple wives, and it was if you can afford to take care of that woman. It wasn't. Oh, I just want a wife, so I'm gonna, like no. You had to be responsible for it. The
Right.
women weren't working at that time.
Okay.
So if you're taking responsibility for it, you had to make sure that she was fed, she was clothed, and all that.
So you don't think the model that God set in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, you don't think that was a good? You don't think he was trying to set the template right there? Like say Adam and Eve, one woman, because when God saw Adam, he was alone. He said, "Let me
Right.
create, a
Yeah,
help."
he created one woman instead of multiple women.
Not
for
multiple
Adam.
women, exactly. So I feel that was a
I get
perfect
that.
template he was trying to set.
But again, we don't know because that would be a question I would have to ask God specifically.
No, but I think he told you right there.
That's not
No, not necessarily.
setting an example and telling you this is how it should be is not the same thing.
Right.
But we're
Wait,
not talking
wait.
about humans. We're talking about God now.
But so
God,
you
God
asked,
put into place
If
what
you're
he wanted.
if you're trying to tell somebody how something's supposed to be, you're going to give them an example.
Right.
yeah, but you're also
Right.
you're
but
going to tell them
that
first
doesn't mean
and then
that
give an
it
example.
has to be this way and only this way. It's just an example.
I mean,
Okay.
that's a
It's
bit
like,
of a-
hey,
yeah,
I
that's-
want this is what I want you to do, and if it looked like this, it would be okay. If you want to do
Exactly.
something else, or if you do something else, but it still works, or it still comes across how I want it to come across, cool. Granted, I'm not God. I know that.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
So
a bit of a,
it's there are levels to
that's a
this.
very loose.
That's why I said
translation.
that's a question we would have to ask him.
I mean, he's the only one that can answer.
What I gather from the creation story is that God was bored and he created the universe.
bored?
Well, he just existed, right?
That don't
Before
mean-
anything.
So that doesn't
If
mean
you
he was
just
bored.
exist and there is absolutely nothing,
He
and
had
you
company.
create-
he had the, he
you
had
create
the Holy
something
Spirit,
out of
He had
nothing.
the Son.
that my analogy would be like, okay, he was bored, he started creating.
Oh my
He
God.
created this, he let there be light. Now there's light. Let there be this, and he
Or-
started creating.
Or maybe
And then at
being
the end,
love
he's like,
himself,
you know what,
he just
let-
wanted to share that.
Let us make man in our image. He said that because he created the angels and all these other things. Angels don't look like us. Angels don't look like God. Angels, if you see the depiction and the description of what angels actually look like, none of them are humanoid-looking beings. That's the reason why he said, "Let us make man in our image that look and talk like us." So he made Adam, and then he realized, okay, Adam was alone because all the other animals had a male-female partner. Adam was just there by himself. It was just Adam and God, and he's like, "No, what? He needs somebody also to be able to procreate with." So he created Eve.
to fit that perfect, like you said, the animals had male and female.
Right.
So he made that same. It goes along the same
exactly.
line.
He did the same
That
thing.
template, the male and the female, one male, one female.
All right.
Template.
So okay, let's
Hey,
go with the
even
template
talk
because
about
a
your
lion,
Beating a dead
a lion is
horse.
the king of the pride, right?
Uh-huh.
Does he only have one queen?
Nope.
Yeah.
No.
he
Yeah, you
doesn't.
do.
No.
Yes, he
I
does.
don't know if you know about the animal kingdom,
Right.
but
I was
No,
about to
you
say,
clearly
the animal
don't.
kingdom, there's no monogamy in the animal
That
kingdom.
is why The Lion King is a great movie, but a terrible movie. Because Nala is either his sister or his cousin.
Facts.
There were only two lions in that whole thing.
So there are multiple lions. You talking about the lioness? You mean?
Yeah, he's
They're all
saying,
lions.
he's
No.
saying Nala's mother
I'm-
and Simba's mother
Yeah, correct. I know.
have both had
know.
relations with Mufasa,
I know.
And
There's,
so
there's
Simba
only
Nala-
one male in every pride.
and that's what I'm
Right.
saying.
That
There's only that male is the only one, and all the women he mates with all of them. That's how the pride is. That's how majority of animal kingdom
Yeah.
is. Like there's not
But that's
just
not how
one.
it started, though. kind of came that
How do
way.
you know that?
Because that's not in the Bible. It was a one lion and one lioness. That's how it started.
But no,
You know?
I think it started that way just
Yes,
for.
exactly.
I mean,
It started that way.
The speculation.
And then they created babies, and then from there, the Lion Society grew.
so
It's like
his
the human
argument
society.
is God created the one
Society.
man and one woman because that's the only way to procreate.
Right.
Is through
Right.
a man, a male, and a female. So it had to be a male animal and a female animal to procreate. Because we know when the flood happened, Noah only brought two of every kind, right? It had to be a male and a female in order to repopulate again.
Back to
Right.
that same template.
Right.
Correct, but you're saying the template as in only one and one.
Right.
We're saying the template as in male and female in order to procreate, to create more.
Mhm.
Okay.
Once there more, then I mean,
What,
is the template? Oh, you only need one and one, or because
Well,
there's
Or
Yeah,
you
I
could say
mean-
because even Noah's kids, each son had one wife that came on the boat also. So like you said, it is a template,
yeah, I think it's being repeated in the
It-
Bible.
but it's not. Is again, I believe it's not a stated fact that you're only supposed to have one.
But I mean, if you see it repeatedly, it's just
I mean,
Oh, I see it.
humanness.
I see it that way, and then I also see it the other way.
yeah, but
you know why I bring that up? Because template that we talk about, right, within confines of marriage and what's okay within marriage. Because so back then there was incest.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything started from Adam and Eve, their sons and their daughters.
Mm-hmm.
But now, that would be considered as wrong.
Right.
I don't know if with Adam and Eve's sons, I think Cain left and found a wife somewhere else.
But where did this
did
woman
the
come
woman
from?
We don't know that.
See,
We don't know
that's
the
a
origin
whole
of those
nother
people.
topic.
That's a
Talk
whole
about
That's
nother
another
topic.
topic.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic.
Because if it's not his sister, then where does this woman come from? That he found his wife.
Well, I think maybe God made other people. Maybe Adam and Eve were the first.
See, I
but
like-
he made other people.
That's-
I like where you're going with that, but now then that what shatters that theory is if all mankind is sinful, and the sin came from Adam, from the bloodline of Adam, then wouldn't there be some perfect people in this world who are not sinful, who aren't going through the struggles of sin that we are going through because we're from the bloodline of Adam?
I think that's a topic
That-
for another
right,
Right.
right.
See? And that's
got
what
real
it
deep.
shatters.
It's got
I've
real
heard
deep.
people say that all the time, but it shatters that theory. If God created other people, then there should be some other people who are still perfect, who didn't bite from the fruit, who
But maybe they ate
Then
the fruit
then
too.
it come from the bloodline of Adam.
and didn't come from the bloodline of Adam.
I
So-
mean, that's a deep discussion right there. We
but
gotta
then for
revisit that.
Cain to then, because Cain is from the bloodline of Adam, so now Cain went and met one of these women and then mated with one of the perfect women. I don't think God
So
would allow that. That's
why-
not
why
his
not?
design.
Why not? So that shatters your theory right there, because
Shatters what?
he's sinful,
Yeah.
and he married one of the quote unquote perfect people.
No, I believe he married his sister.
No. So let's say
He said if he
it
would've.
was true, and he married one of those perfect people, right then that perfection is
It's
shattered
now
because-
corrupted.
Yeah, it's now
Yeah, the
corrupted. Right. So there's no more perfect people left.
No, it would just be in Cain's bloodline. That doesn't mean that one woman didn't have sisters, brothers,
Because then
and
you're
all
only
that.
saying there's only one other.
Where did
female
she
out
come
there.
from?
But there was only one other male, Cain, for to repopulate.
Right.
Well,
Well, so all right, I see what you're saying. So the Bible is not specific how long it took him to find a wife. So we have no idea because after
I
Abel
think
was
the
dead,
Bible does talk that Cain took one of his sisters. If you read,
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. It says Cain left and he found a wife, and he started with the Canaanites or whatever that. Okay.
because within his bloodline,
Yes.
it's talking about they took their cousins or whatever. And
And whose boy?
within Cain's bloodline, after he had his
Yeah.
his sons and his daughters, they married each other and they started to.
But remember, so what I was gonna say is that Abel, I don't know. It
But
doesn't mention that Abel
Adam
had
and
a
Eve,
wife.
they had, but they when they had Seth, who did
Seth?
Seth marry?
we don't know. We don't know.
But
No,
we
one
know
of
who
those
Cain
other
married.
people.
We know who Cain married, but we
One
don't
of
know
those
who
other
Seth
people.
married.
One of the others. You know what I mean?
See, so the way that the scripture is written again, so the scripture was written by men, and when it talked about the population, it started with men only in the bloodline. It only talked about Adam's sons. It never gave reference to a daughter's name to like years later before you finally heard a female name other than Eve. So the belief is that Cain and Abel, we don't know if Cain was the first child. We just know he was the first son. they maybe could have had a daughter first. In this world, like more women are born in this world than men.
I think the Bible would have depicted if they had a daughter first.
Not if it's irrelevant. Not if she didn't kill somebody and do anything. The story went from Adam got in trouble, got kicked out, and now the next story was Cain screwed up too.
Yeah.
So we don't know what happened with the daughters. The daughters could have been good daughters, listen to mom, listen to dad, didn't get in trouble. We don't know.
So I think that's a very good issue and topic for us to discuss. But even when you talk about that, to bring it back, I think it's not good to introduce quote unquote sin into your marriage, right? Through
Right.
sex or other ways. You know what I
Agreed.
mean? It could be threesome, it could be, pornography, whatever. We have to guard our marriage. We have to guard our
Absolutely.
True.
bedroom. We have to try to, as men, well, I don't know. Today, we got to talk to our wives. Communication is very important when it comes to intimacy and love in the bedroom. So, I don't know, like, because we did mention it quite a few times. How much do we communicate with our wives about what our expectations are, or what makes us happy, or what pleases us, or how much do we have those kind of conversations? Do we the frequency,
I say
How
it's
often?
definitely a conversation that needs to be had in every marriage. And when it comes to the frequency, I feel like when it becomes an issue, is usually people don't communicate until they're frustrated, and you shouldn't wait till you're frustrated to have
Now
that
you're
conversation.
communicating out of frustration,
Yeah.
Right.
rather than out of loving
Out
place.
of love.
True.
But then, if you're communicating something, is it because you're frustrated about something, or there is an issue that you need to communicate? Like, let's talk about, you said the example of frequency. Like, if you feel like you're not having enough sex, like you want to have sex 5 times a week, she only want to have sex 3 times a week. It's like, how do y'all communicate that to each other without making one feel some type of
like
way?
offended, or yeah. That's true. That's a good
But
point.
then that's
I've-
when the compromise comes in.
Well, definitely
marriage.
compromise. But I have found when having these discussions, if you keep it focused on you, it goes a lot better. So if there is a difference in frequency, she definitely wants it way more. So
Wait, say what? Repeat that.
she wants it way more.
So you can't keep up.
I cannot keep up.
All right, my brother.
So if I wanted to address the
she-
issue,
No, they
Sure.
got pills for that now.
I mean, shoot, you send some my way. I don't know. We'll see. But if I wanted to bring that up, I couldn't come up and be like, "Oh, you wanted too much." That's not gonna work. But I can say like, "Oh, I'm feeling very pressured, and it doesn't. That's not going to help make anything happen." And then that at least that way she doesn't feel attacked. She might still feel rejected, obviously, but there's only so much I can do.
Right.
But when having difficult conversations, talk about yourself and your feelings as opposed to what they did or didn't do and how it made you feel, and it'll go a lot better.
So
I'm still stuck on she wants it more. It's- I don't-
I have a question.
it's kinda
So, for women, when we want to be intimate with them, they want us to turn them on in the way that they like, whether it's
Yeah.
romanticized or whatever. So we have to come correct, pretty much. Do you feel like that's reciprocated?
No,
Absolutely not.
not even a little.
Not even
Maybe a
thought.
little. Maybe a little.
I see your face, bro.
That's not even a question, bro. Like, come on now. You know what time it is, yeah.
It goes back to what he was saying before, where women just sort of expect us to be able to turn it on
Whenever,
the moment they say it's available.
So how would you say we communicate? So like, if they're in the mood and it's that not on our, cause it is a miscommon perception that's all we think about, and it's not true. We're not thinking about that, but she's in the mood. But they just expect us to get there instead of rather than quote unquote turning us on to get us there, how would you communicate that to, like, baby, maybe this is what you should do to, like, how do you communicate that?
I mean, I would just say the same.
I can give an example.
You know how you like, how you want to get started. You could do the same to me.
A good example would be I don't appreciate being just woken up and expecting me to be ready. But if you like, you can,
good sleep.
yeah, right. Like if you're tired, like same thing. If I came home hanging with the guys and she's already sleeping and I'm in the mood, how is she going to be receptive of that? No, she's going to be bothered because she's sleeping, she's tired, she's not in the mood. But vice versa, if I'm sleeping and you're in the mood, I don't just come jump on top of me and expect me to be ready to go. Like, and like you said, what would you tell them? What advice to give would be, like, you can start kissing me to wake me up, kiss me all over or whatever, and then once I'm in the mood, now we can go. But don't just expect me to be ready to go just because you're ready. Just like you wouldn't expect that the other way around.
Then we gotta be careful with how you say it.
Well,
because
how you say
if
it,
you say, don't expect me to be ready. That come off kind of,
Well, how would you say it? What's your suggestion?
That's why I asked y'all.
That's why you asked.
What you find out, let us know, brother. I'm trying to,
I'll give y'all some tips. Don't worry about it.
But I think whatever it is, though, communication is at the heart of it, right? For intimacy, for lovemaking, for whatever turn us on, communication is at the heart of it. And, I heard people say, like, the brain is the biggest sex organ. So I guess once you stimulate the brain, once you stimulate the person's mind, then I guess the sex will be easier to come, And sometimes I wonder, is sex the beginning or the end? Is sex the result of all of these nice things, all of the good communication, treating each other good, complimenting each other, and then the sex is just a natural thing after that? Or sometimes we put sex as the main thing and expect the sex to be good as the main thing without taking care of all these other things that surround it. You know what I mean? So, but I think whatever it is, though, communication is a key to having a good sex life. Even before the football game start, you got to communicate. Like, look, between 7 and 9, do not disturb me. But yeah, so I think great topic, man.
This was a good talk.
It's a good talk, and I think conversations like this should be had in the church more often than not. I think for some reason, the older folks don't think that they can communicate and teach us things. I mean, it's a different time, of course, but you never know what you could learn. You never know what you can teach. You know what I mean?
And that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast. So, like we always said, looking for more feedback and comments, because these are the type of topics that we want to be able to talk about freely that we don't talk about in the church as men of faith, men and women of faith. We don't talk about
women, right? Yeah.
But these are things that we deal with and that we are thinking about on a daily basis. So.
Right. Definitely. So, great episode, fellas. And I think we all gonna go home and talk to wives. And communicate with our wives about
with
sex.
Love and gentleness.
With love and gentleness. And like Stephon said, talk about ourselves.
So communication. So, babe, tonight.
There might be a game on tonight. I don't know.
All right, guys. So go ahead, follow us, like, subscribe. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Join us again. Leave comments. Let us know what you thought. Let us know your opinions. Let us know what we could talk about next. Okay? Join us next time as we sharpen ourselves and sharpen you.
Trying to win a war, not one with a sword, unless it comes from your mouth, cause your word cuts deep. Double edge, separate the soul from flesh. Double edge, you know that the Lord knows best. Double edge, beloved stay blessed. Double edge, beloved stay blessed. Double edge, beloved stay blessed. Double edge, double edge. Trying to win a war, not one with a sword, unless it comes from your mouth.